Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? Hope you're all well. Now, before we kick off with this webinar session, if anybody's got any sort of technical challenges in viewing this live webinar stream, feel free to go through the usual kind of troubleshooting that we all tend to go through if something technology related doesn't work for us first time around. So if you are tuned in on your computer or laptop, feel free just to hit the refresh button on your web browser page now. Alternatively, feel free to come out of the YouTube app if you are tuning in on a mobile device, and then click back on the link that you received for this session, and hopefully everything should be working for you. And if you are all if you're all geared up and ready to go, then that's fantastic. It's one less step for you to take. One thing to note that with this session is that live captioning should be available for you. So if you were to hover over onto this YouTube video, you'll see that there is a small kind of square icon with the letter CC inside of it. That is the option for you to toggle live captioning on or off throughout the course of this session. So feel free to use that functionality if you wish to do so. Also, feel free to grab yourself a pen and paper just so you can jot down some notes as we go along. Okay, so I hope everyone's geared up and ready for this session. So welcome to this Google Digital Garage webinar session all about social media strategy. My name is Rikesh. I'm going to be your presenter, taking you through the course of this session, which is going to last for approximately 60 minutes. So I'll kick off first with a little bit about me. So I'm a trainer for Google's digital skills program, Google Digital Garage. I'm also a digital marketer. So what that means is that I work with businesses to help them not only to create, but to also grow an online presence in order to attract more customers or potential customers and clients to their business offering. Now, a large part of kind of capturing attention of customers and clients respectively online is utilizing the power of social media, because that's what, as we'll see coming up shortly, that's where many of us do tend to spend our times. And if we are spending time on social media, chances are other people, namely our prospective clients or customers, are spending time on there as well. So from a business perspective, that's a fantastic place of putting ourselves in the kind of virtual shop window, essentially, with our business offering. So we're actually going to be kind of looking at kind of the blueprint or kind of the framework and strategy side of things with social media throughout the course of this session. So that's just a little bit about me. I'd also like to introduce to you at this stage my colleague and fellow Google Digital Garage trainer, and that is Samantha. Now, Samantha is going to be our wonderful chat moderator today. So whilst you won't see Samantha on screen, you will see Samantha appearing in the live chat here on YouTube. So the YouTube live chat should be located on the right-hand side of your screen. So feel free to get involved. It's very quick and easy to actually sign in to your YouTube account. And once you've done that, that will allow you to type into the live chat box as we go along. And feel free to use that space throughout the time that we have together to ask questions or provide your thoughts and comments as we go along, because I definitely kind of find, especially with kind of virtual training sessions like these that we are running, I think as kind of an attendee, I think to get the most out of it, it's nice to kind of ask questions when they kind of spring to mind and we're kind of going through different kind of concepts going forward. So feel free to kind of make the most of that live chat box, and a combination of either myself or Samantha will be able to kind of pick up on some of the questions that you may have. If we don't know the answer to a question that you might have, we might just say, look, we don't know the answer. You might need to go away and Google it, ironically. But I definitely recommend kind of asking questions and kind of providing your thoughts as we go along. I know some of you have been getting involved. I did ask a question just before we went live as to see where everybody's tuning in from. The beauty of YouTube is that people can tune in from different parts of the world. So we've got Yulisa tuning in from Chicago, Illinois. Welcome to you, Yulisa. We've got Kitty from Switzerland. Welcome to you as well. We've also got Ruben tuning in from Albania. Welcome to you. We've also got Veronica tuning in from Czech Republic. We've also got Donika tuning in from London, so closer to home to me, I guess. We've also got Arancha from Mexico. Apologies if I've not pronounced your name entirely correctly. We've also got Shay from London as well. We've also got Lewis from Wiltshire. We've also got Swapna from Dubai, and we've also got Vishaka tuning in from India. So it's great to see such a breadth of people, and also On Point tuning in from Southampton. Such a breadth of people, not only tuning in from the UK, which is where I'm based, but also around the world as well. So I really hope that you find this webinar session useful. Now, this session on social media strategy is one of many webinars that we actually run as part of a wider Google Digital Garage webinar offering. So if you have a look down below me, you'll see that there is a video description box contained within there somewhere. You'll find a link to the Google Digital Garage website where you'll be able to sign up for more webinar sessions just like these on a variety of other digital marketing related topics. We also do tend to run career specific webinar sessions as well, related to creating CV and cover letter, and also finding your career goals as well. But we do a large chunk of the webinar sessions related to digital marketing topics such as social media strategy that we're covering today as well. So with the live webinar sessions that you'll find on the live training tab of the website, these are webinars just like these, which are available for you to tune in at no charge. Another resource you'll find on the website available at no charge is the online courses tab, where you'll see a list of online courses, which many of them do aim to supplement the learning that you do on these particular online webinar sessions as well. You will find that the first online course that will appear to you on that particular web page is a course called the Fundamental of Digital Marketing course, which actually has an added bonus in that upon completion of the Fundamental of Digital Marketing course, you'll actually receive a certificate at no charge from Google, recognizing that you've completed that particular course specifically as well. So definitely check out all of those resources when you do get a moment. But let's have a look at what we're covering in this session, all about social media strategy. So in this session, the way that we're going to be breaking this session down is we're first of all going to go through a little bit of like a validation kind of phase or period, because we're going to kind of evaluate and think, well, how do we actually use social media to help our business to grow? Before kind of jumping into kind of the deep end of the pool and thinking, right, yeah, I'm going to set up a social media presence on this platform, that platform, and for my business, we want to evaluate, well, what's the upside to me as a business? Why should I be actually spending my time doing this? What's the upside? What's the potential gain out of it? And I'm sure many of you would have kind of heard of kind of, I guess, kind of that kind of age-old cliche of time is money, especially in business. So if we're going to invest some of our time, even though it's not going to cost us anything, it's still going to cost us in time. We want to make sure that there's an upside, there's a benefit to us going forward as well. So that's what we're going to be looking at first and foremost. What we're then going to move on to is what we identify to be kind of the kind of strong building blocks for creating a social media strategy. So we'll be going through each one of these steps turn by turn. So feel free to have a pen and paper, as I mentioned at the start of this session, on hand, just so you can jot down notes. And this particular social media strategy, or this framework that we're going to be going through each one of these steps, feel free to jot these down, and feel free to then go ahead at the end of this session and apply this to your own business or kind of startup that you might have or are considering in the future as well. As I do definitely feel that it helps definitely provide a little bit of kind of purpose and direction when it comes to kind of a social media presence as a business or organization going forward. And then we'll wrap up this session just by looking at some tips and tools that can maybe help to elevate your own social media game as well. Now, before we get into the first part of this session, I want to draw your attention to another fantastic resource which is available at no charge. You can see here by the title, free one-to-one mentoring available from Google. So this is a fantastic opportunity for you to have a virtual sit down with a mentor and kind of have a more of a tailored discussion and a chat about maybe some challenges or maybe some help, kind of one-to-one help that you require in regards to kind of building on your digital skills knowledge, which in turn will hopefully help you to develop elements of your business and your online presence specifically as well. So definitely check out the link for Google Mentoring that you can see here on screen. I'm sure that Samantha will kind of drop this in the chat for you as well. The only kind of requirement in order to make use of this fantastic resource is that you are a small business or charity based in the UK. I know some of you who mentioned in the chat where you're tuning in from are based in the UK, so this would be a fantastic resource for you to check out. So let's go into the first part of this session and actually look at how social media can help a business to grow. And I want to kind of kick off this section by showing you some kind of stats and figures here. And that kind of, with these stats and figures, you can see that our customers live on social media. And when I say our customers, we can count ourselves in this kind of bracket if we wish to. I'm sure many of us, even throughout today, in the UK, the time is 6:10 in the evening. So we're coming towards the end of kind of the working day, essentially. And I'm sure some of you out there, and if people are in kind of different time zones, feel free to kind of adapt this to your own kind of scenario. But throughout kind of the last 2, 3, 4 hours, whenever we might have a spare moment, whenever we get maybe whenever we were having a lunch break or just a general kind of breather and maybe just stepping away from a desk perhaps, a lot of the times we do tend to go to social media, have a little bit of a browse, just start scrolling through. So we do spend a lot of time on social media platforms. You can see in the UK alone, there's 44 million active social media users. That actually equates to well over 80% of the UK's population. And you can also see here that the average daily use of social media across any device is just shy of 2 hours, just less than 2 hours, an hour and 54 minutes. I mean, you can actually check and track your own usage of social media apps on your own device. So if you were to go into the digital well-being settings, if you've got an Android smartphone, alternatively, if you've got an iOS device, you can go into the screen time section and you can actually check what is your average social media app usage on your smartphone, which typically tends to be our primary device, because we do live in a mobile world these days. That kind of is the device we tend to maybe look at first thing in the morning and maybe last thing at night as well. But the reason why these stats and figures are on screen is because we need to be aware of the fact of, if this is where the attention is, we can use this to our advantage. We can use this to our benefit as a business. You might have heard of social media being called kind of the attention economy by many people. And that kind of really kind of highlights what social media is all about. It's all about keeping people in a certain area or on a certain platform. So from a business perspective, a lot of people are spending a lot of time on certain social media platforms. Then that's a fantastic way for us as organizations to capitalize on that attention and hopefully get our product or get our service offering in front of those eyes going forward as well. Now, the general kind of upsides from a business perspective of having a social media presence is that we can generate more sales. It can help us to create profit, right? And that's all kind of done by reaching new audiences, or the ability to reach new audiences. So let's say you are a business that is based in London. I know that some of you are based in different parts of the world. So, for example, you've got Veronica tuning in from Czech Republic. If you're a business that's based in London, by having a social media presence, you can kind of get that visibility of who you are as a business to somebody such as the likes of Veronica, who's tuning in from Czech Republic, or Kitty tuning in from Switzerland, or Yelisa tuning in from Chicago, Illinois. You can actually essentially get that visibility out there, which you otherwise may not have been able to do. You might have only been able to kind of spread your message in terms of who you are, what your business does, what products or services that you sell, maybe just to kind of the local vicinity of your business there as well. So it definitely allows us to kind of get in front of potential customers who we may not otherwise have got in front of as well. Now, we can also create new opportunities by having an online presence, just merely by having a social media profile set up on certain platforms. That affords kind of the opportunity for other maybe businesses to reach out to us. And this is really fundamental, especially if we are kind of selling kind of business to business. It's a fantastic way to kind of set up our stall, albeit a virtual stall, and say, this is who we are, this is what we sell. If you want to kind of get in touch, feel free to contact us, for example. And it's just as kind of simple as that. Now, something that can supercharge it, hopefully getting more people to kind of message you or inquire with you about how they could work with you, or any sort of business relationships that can be formed off the back of that. That can all be supercharged by creating content, but merely by having a profile set up, by having a presence out there on social media, it can help us to create new opportunities going forward as well. Now, we can also target specific types of customers as well. And that's something that we're going to be revisiting a little bit later on when we go into some of the steps that we have set up in our social media strategy framework a little bit later on as well. And also we can build relationships and networks, not only build relationships and networks, but continue them as well. So there may be scenarios where many of you out there, you might have met people at networking events previously, before kind of the pandemic, and you may have kind of connected with them on LinkedIn. Now, with those kind of relationships, because maybe you weren't able to see them for the best part of 2 years, it's not to say that you can still kind of send them messages or maybe kind of comments on some of the posts that they put out there as well. And by doing that, you're actually continuing these relationships. Now, those relationships might develop into something fruitful later on, perhaps as well. But it's definitely a fantastic place to kind of carry on relationships, but also build them. So it works kind of the other way around. So you might connect with someone online by having a social media presence, but then that can actually develop into a real life opportunity going forward as well. Now, we can also add value to our brand by having a social media presence. Now, what I mean by adding value to our brand is in kind of multiple ways. One of them is that we can raise our customer service levels. So when it comes to customer service, with a lot of businesses now, if somebody has got maybe a grievance or is unsure about something before they go ahead and buy a product or before they undertake your services, they can actually typically reach out to businesses using social media. So they can send a direct message on Twitter or through Instagram, for instance. And that's kind of much more of an accessible, more palatable way to kind of be as a business in terms of being more accessible for our customers or potential customers as well, rather than, I guess, I still kind of myself kind of remember the days before social media was really big. I still remember the days where a lot of businesses, they just had a generic customer services email address. So if you had a grievance or if you were on the fence about buying a particular product or service, then that would all kind of go through that email address. Now, the problem with that email address typically would be everybody sending messages through on that. So you typically get an auto reply saying, we'll reply to you within 3 working days. And then when you get the reply, it might not be satisfactory in terms of actually solving or resolving kind of the matter at hand. And then you have to go back to them again. And then you end up kind of playing email tennis. And that's not really giving good levels of customer service. But at the time, it was kind of more of a needs must. Whereas now, by being able to reach out via various social media platforms, and by businesses and organizations actually being prompt in terms of providing responses, that's something that can elevate and raise customer service levels going forward as well. Now, we can also start two-way conversations through social media, various social media platforms, and we'll look at an example of that coming up later on as well. We can also showcase a news side to our business as well. So, for instance, with the likes of LinkedIn, we might have something like a company page where we explain a little bit more about our products, what we do. However, we might also be on Instagram because we find that there's a lot of individuals who might also be spending time on Instagram, who may be our potential customer base as well. But with the likes of Instagram, maybe we can show a little bit more kind of behind the scenes and kind of showcase a new side to our business in terms of maybe the people that work in that organization, what they enjoy as well. So by doing that, kind of maybe building a little bit more rapport and endearing yourselves to customers and potential new customers as well. And you can also build out your own community. So these are kind of people who maybe buy a product of yours if you're a product-based business, and they're the people that will maybe shout from the rooftops and kind of share some of your content. And maybe those people who will tell their friends, tell their family, tell their wider support network, buy from this fantastic business. They do some really fantastic products going forward as well. So you can start to build a community, or kind of what I like to call kind of a super fan base in general as well. Now, we can also improve our marketing efforts by having a social media presence. So we can naturally help our kind of visibility on search and search engines by having a social media presence. So if right now, whilst you're watching this, if you've got another device to hand, feel free just to jump onto Google and search for the name of your favorite fashion brand, for instance. The chances are, when you see the Google search results that do appear on the first page, the chances are not only will you see a link to the website for that fashion brand, but chances are you'll also see a link to their Instagram, a link to their YouTube channel, maybe a link to their Twitter account, whatever kind of other social media kind of profiles and platforms that they're on. Chances are you'll also see links to them as well. So, and that's kind of helping us to get more notice on search as well. So it has kind of an additional benefit with that as well. And with kind of a marketing hat on in general, we can naturally attract more people to our website. So if we're posting about a particular service that we are providing, or a new service that we're rolling out as part of our organization, and we're posting about it on various platforms, we can actually provide a link within there for people to read more and find out more before they inquire about that service. And that's kind of attracting more people to our website to kind of find out more as well. We can also gain more valuable customer insights. We can find out more of what people enjoy and what kind of captures people's attention, what makes them want to click on something as opposed to another thing. And we'll speak about that again a little bit later on as well. And we can also keep an eye on our competitors. Now, the beauty of kind of social media is, especially from a business perspective and an organization perspective, the chances are the vast majority of business kind of profiles are public, because they are public by design, so that as many people can sort of find them. So it's not kind of a closed off kind of profile tool. It's kind of very much public, so people can find out and just kind of see what you're all about. And that kind of sometimes can give food for thought. So if you think, oh, I'm not really sure whether I should set up a social media profile on this particular platform, what you can do is maybe have a look at maybe your competitors, see whether there's appetite on there. Whether they're getting a lot of interaction and encouragement and engagement on that platform. That can give us food for thought going forward as to whether we decide to have a presence on that platform going forward as well. Now, a few kind of questions just to kind of keep in mind, and feel free to jot these questions down as we go along. And some of these questions that you can see on screen, you might know the answers to. Some of these you might not, and that's fine either way. So are my posts on social media driving people to my website? And who are my most influential followers? Okay, so are my posts on social media driving people to my website? We'll explore how we can actually answer that question directly when we go into the strategy part of this session. Who are my most influential followers? That's another thing which we can actually utilize various tools to help us to identify that factor as well. And it also requires a little bit of research on our end, see who's kind of following us and engaging, interacting with us, who's part of our community, and see what reach they have, who is part of their community, and see whether you can kind of cross-pollinate audiences there as well. Now, the other two questions that you can see here of what kind of updates should I post and when's the best time to engage with my audience? A lot of the times with social media, the mindset that people go into social media, especially from a business perspective, is that they're looking for that one-stop shop answer, that magic formula answer that's going to solve all. Oh yeah, the best time to post is going to be this time in the morning, and that applies throughout each day of the week. And people are always looking for that kind of very simple formula, and then they think, oh, I'm going to stick to that constantly. But that's not necessarily the case, because, for example, the best time to engage with my audience, it will depend on your industry that you're working in, and also it will depend upon where you are based in the world, and also it will depend upon which platforms, which social media platforms you're going to be posting on as well. So there's a lot of variables at play. So the best kind of mindset I definitely feel to kind of adapt. And this is something that it's taken me time to actually create. This kind of mindset is kind of a mindset of trial and error. Try different things out. See try posting at different times of the day and different days of the week. See what's working. See what's not working. And then look to kind of make improvements off the back of that as well. Now, before we go into the social media strategy itself, a few final things to remember in this kind of validation phase when it comes to kind of having social media, which can allow us to kind of grow our business, is that attention spans are short. it's estimated that the average human attention span is roughly about 8 seconds. However, when it comes to social media and social media content, our average attention span drops to short of 3 seconds. So just kind of think about that. Next time you're kind of on your phone and you're kind of scrolling through your news feed, just think about that kind of average 3 seconds, because we don't have a lot of patience these days when we're kind of looking at content. So we want to bear that in mind, especially when it comes to content creation. You can also see that there's a lot of competition with social media. It can be a wall of noise. So if you were to post something on your business profile right now on one of your social media accounts, if you do have one set up, that is, chances are by the end of this webinar session, you might have scrolled quite a few times to actually find that post again. So it's important just to be aware of that factor and make sure that we're not getting lost in the noise. With social media and kind of posting on social media, it's not always free. And we'll speak about kind of paid advertising as an option later on as well. And once it's public, it's public. So with a lot of kind of tools out there, we can go back and edit. We can edit posts, things like kind of LinkedIn posts and Instagram posts, for example. We can edit them. However, the risk we kind of run is if we made a spelling error or grammatical mistake in that post, and it takes us 30 minutes to realize, and then we go back and amend it. In that 30 minutes, that might have been the difference between somebody who would have actually bought from you, but somebody who just thought, they've not done enough due diligence in order to actually properly vet this post to check on the spelling error that there was. And that could have been the difference between you making a sale and somebody buying from you or inquiring about a service and not as well. So it's always important just to kind of be mindful of that factor as well. Just kind of double and triple check things through before you hit that post button with your social media content. So let's have a check-in to see if there's any sort of comments or questions. So we've got a question here from Yash, who's asked, how can I get the most out of my social media as a realtor? So Yash, I think it's very important. First and foremost, we'll actually go through it in a few moments' time. It's important to identify first and foremost which social media platforms are people spending the most time on, because it's all good and well thinking, oh, as a realtor, right, I'm going to be having a presence on this social media platform, having a presence on this social media platform, having this presence on this social media platform, and I'm going to post the same thing across all of these platforms. But then there's no incentive for people to cross-pollinate. There's no incentive for people then go onto your realtor website and kind of find out a little bit more about you as well. So just maybe trying different things out. And again, it's not just a case of not just kind of finding that magic formula of, oh, how can I get the most out of social media? It's important to try being on a certain platform, try different pieces of content, try posting at different times of the day as well. And that's something that we'll be kind of exploring a little bit more. And I think hopefully when we go on to the strategy in a moment or so, it will kind of make more sense, and you can hopefully look to apply this strategy framework to your own realtor business as well. So thanks very much for that question there, Yash. If there's any further questions, pop them into the chat, and hopefully be able to kind of, myself or Samantha will be able to kind of answer them as we go along. So let's have a look at this social media strategy that we've identified. These are essentially the 5 steps or kind of 5 building blocks that we've identified. This is what we kind of class as our kind of framework or blueprint. And this is something which is more than more than kind of ready to be adapted by you. So feel free to kind of, if you wish to kind of jot each one of these headings down and then maybe adapt it to your own organization going forward. So we've got audience, we've got goals, we've got social platforms, we've got tone of voice, and defining what is success for you and your business. So let's have a look at step 1 first and foremost, which is defining our audience. Now, feel free to change this word audience if you wish to. So you could be like, define your customers, or define your clients, right? It depends. People kind of refer to their customers, clients, and consumers as with kind of different words. But all in all, what we want to do is we want to kind of jot down. Feel free to kind of jot down these questions of who are they, what are they into, who or what influences them, when are they usually online as well, and which social media platforms do they use, and not just which ones do they use, because chances are a lot of us nowadays pretty much have a presence on most social media platforms out there. But which social media platforms do they spend the time on the most as well? So it's very important questions that we want to kind of just jot down here. But you might be thinking, well, Rikesh, how do I actually find the answers to these questions? Well, the best way to actually find answers to these questions is to go to source. Go and ask these people directly. So speak to them directly, find out what their need, what are their interests. You know, Yash, you mentioned in your question earlier on that you're a realtor business. I think like in the UK we kind of class that as kind of estate agent business to some degree as well. But with kind of a realtor business, it's important to maybe go out and speak to the people who are going to be needing a realtor, or in the near future will be needing a realtor, and find out what their needs are, what their interests are. And that's something that is very useful for you when it comes to not only deciding, well, where are they spending most of their time on in terms of social media platforms, but what sort of content is going to be most engaging to them specifically as well. So what key information or general information can you provide as a realtor that is going to be useful to somebody who's going to be maybe buying a property here or buying a property there, perhaps as well. So that's something to kind of consider. Now, if you're looking to kind of get a lot of responses back, a lot maybe feedback from potential customers or potential clients, rather than kind of go into each individual person who you think might be most attracted to your business offering, you can actually create a survey just to save a little bit of time. Now there's some fantastic survey creation tools out there. You've got the likes of SurveyMonkey. You've also got Google Forms as well, which you can use, and you can collate responses off the back of there as well. But the most important thing to remember, whether it be survey or speaking to the people directly by maybe running something like a focus group, the thing to remember here is it's all going to well collating information and thinking, oh, these are their interests, these are their needs, this is what they'd be most interested in. But what we want to do is we want to use this information and actually put it into action and kind of put these needs, put these interests at the forefront of our content creation, because this is something which will then allow us to see, right, well, we're creating content within the lines of kind of needs and interests of our potential customers. Let's see how receptive that is. Well, if not, if it's not as receptive as we thought, let's make some adjustments here and there as well. Again, trial and error mindset going forward as well. Now, there are some online tools to help us to also answer these kind of who, what, why questions that we saw as well. And they are kind of the insight tools that are all kind of out there and available. So for some of you out there, you might already have something like a YouTube channel, or you might have a Twitter account, or you might have a Facebook business page, for example. Now, with most, if not all, kind of social media platforms out there, there's usually kind of an analytical kind of insight section that you can actually use, where you'll see different kind of graphs and charts which are available for you to view. And these are actually built directly into the platforms themselves, so you've not really got to go anywhere to actually find this information. And it's available for you to access at no charge. So it's a great way of you finding out what are some of the interests, what particular posts that I'm putting out are getting the most attention, perhaps as well. And again, it's food for thought when it comes to improving the quality and kind of going through that kind of iterative process of improving the quality of your social media content, hopefully enticing as many of your ideal type of customers as possible as well. Now, as well as kind of the social media insight and analytical tools that are built in to the platforms like Twitter Analytics, YouTube Analytics, Facebook Insights, etc. You've also got Google Analytics as well. Now, some of you might already have Google Analytics set up. Now, Google Analytics is a fantastic website analytics tool, which essentially allows you to track every click that happens on your business website, which is super, super useful. So you can find out things such as which of my product pages are visited the most. You can actually also find out what's the drop-off rate in terms of the people that are getting from my payment page once they're going through the checkout process. they're buying a product from our website to the people that actually get to the order completed page as well. So you can see what the drop off is and maybe look to make adjustments going forward as well. Now, Google Analytics is a tool that you can link with your business website, and it's a tool that is available at no charge. And we actually have a fantastic webinar session that we actually run dedicated to kind of analytics in general, and we actually deep dive a little bit into Google Analytics itself, and it's called Get Started with Analytics. So if that's a session that you feel might be of interest to you, definitely have a look at the link in the video description box below and sign up for the next running session on Get Started with Analytics. And just tune in on the right date and the right time, just like you're doing with this session as well. So that's kind of step one, is thinking about kind of our customers and kind of audience there respectively as well. Step two is all about setting ourselves some goals, and specifically setting ourselves a goal for social media. So when it comes to social media in general, I'm sure many of us out here have a social media presence on one or more platforms from a personal perspective. And a lot of the times we have a social media presence just to keep in touch with friends, keep in touch with family, post funny memes and GIFs, for example, as well. But when it comes to social media from a business perspective, we want to kind of look at it as kind of like a means to an end. It's there to serve a purpose. And in terms of the purpose, what we want to do is we want to identify that purpose. And that is what is going to be our goal. So you can see some examples of some of the goals here. So what are you looking to get out of social media as a business? So are you looking to give better customer service? We spoke about that earlier on. In terms of kind of raising our kind of our customer service levels and kind of increasing our value, essentially. Are we looking to grow our brand awareness? So we might be a brand new fitness clothing company, and we want to be as well known as the likes of Nike or Adidas out there. So maybe we have a goal of growing our brand awareness so that people become more familiar with our own brand as well. You're looking to generate more sales. Maybe you've been established for a number of years now as well. So you've got all these kind of options with kind of goals. Now, when it comes to goals in general, I always like to kind of think, rather than kind of saying, oh, I want to achieve all of these goals here on screen, because again, it just seems like it can be overwhelmed at times. So that's why I always like to kind of think, well, just kind of pick on one social media goal that you want to select, that you want to achieve, because there's nothing stopping you. Once you're on the path to success with a goal, nothing stopping you to circle back to this step two of this strategy and actually create yourself another goal perhaps as well. So in terms of actually social media goals here, we've kind of got kind of the 4 Ds that you can see here on screen, which is discover, define, develop, and deliver. So once we've kind of settled upon and discovered what social media goal we want to set out for ourselves, the one goal, and again, we can go back and actually create more afterwards. We want to then look at what are some of the challenges. I mean, I kind of like to look at this in terms of kind of in kind of athletic terms. So think about kind of your barriers. What are the hurdles that you have to jump through in order to get towards that finish line? Now, once you've kind of identified what are those hurdles, you can think, well, what's my game plan to jump over each one of those hurdles? So you can then develop kind of a strategy to work through each one of those hurdles. And then it's a case of delivering. So just kind of making a run for that finish line there as well. So it's very important to have that kind of social media goal. And hence why we've got it as kind of step 2 of the strategy framework itself as well, because it kind of gives us that focal point. Because if you think about if you get into a car and you are driving somewhere that you've never been to before, what do we tend to do? We tend to turn on the satellite navigation, either on in our car, or we use an app on our phone. And what do we tend to do? We actually type in the destination, which is the goal that we want to get to, because otherwise we'll be driving around aimlessly. So it's important to set ourselves a goal. Just give us that kind of focal point to kind of work towards as well. Now, step 3 is choosing which social media platforms to have a presence on. So there's kind of a few considerations here. One of them is to think about what sort of focus is our presence in terms of are we lifestyle focused as a business? Are we more are we more kind of business focused as well? Because a lot of the times that will dictate which main social media platform that we have a presence on. But that's not to say that we have to ignore other social media platforms out there as well. And you can see here it says start with one, test it, learn, and then try another. I think that's kind of the best kind of motto that I always kind of think, because as I mentioned earlier on when I was answering Yash's question, I think it's important to kind of note that if we have a presence on all of the social media platforms out there, all of the main social media platforms that kind of exist out there, then the chances are we're going to be spreading ourselves thin with content, and that is going to dilute the quality of our content as well. And as I mentioned earlier on as well, if we're posting the same thing to all of our social media profiles on the same date, same time, then there's no incentive for people to kind of move around and maybe go onto a website and find out more information because they found it all already on that particular post as well. However, one thing to note with whichever social media platform that we actually create a presence on, pretty much most, if not all, social media platforms require different kind of strategies and approaches. So let's actually have a look at just kind of a sample of some of the social media platforms that exist out there and what they're about. So we've got the likes of Twitter. So Twitter is very much what I like to kind of describe as a conversational platform. So it's less about, from a business perspective, less about kind of you firing out tweets every hour and saying, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. But it's more about kind of getting involved in other people's conversations, especially if we as a business are able to provide thoughtful insight and provide thoughtful answers or thoughtful solutions to maybe problems and challenges that they might have as well, because that's a great way of standing out as kind of a thought leader and kind of a leader within a particular industry that we want to be seen as a leader of in general as well. You can see some of the kind of attributes of Twitter. You can ask things such as kind of questions and polls. And as I mentioned earlier on, one of the beauties of kind of adding value to our brand as kind of having a social media presence is that we can have two-way conversations, and polls are typically two-way conversations. So you can see with this example here with the Dollar Shave Club, they've kind of asked their customers or prospective customer or people that just like the Dollar Shave Club company, how often they actually change their razor blade. And that actually gives the Dollar Shave Club some useful insights going forward with any maybe research and development that they might do for future products perhaps as well. So it's kind of a two-way street. And from a kind of customer or prospective customer perspective, they feel like they are being listened to and they are being asked questions, which is going to help going forward in terms of making the products or services even better than they might be already, perhaps as well. You can see here we can kind of use the factors such as the likes of kind of retweeting, use things such as pinned tweets to kind of display something that you want people to see every time they come onto your Twitter feed, perhaps as well. And you can see in terms of the best way of kind of being found and kind of visibility is to use hashtags as well, which is generally kind of a theme across most social media platforms as well. You've then also got Facebook, which has been around for a long period of time. You can see here, Facebook allows customers to find you and see what your business is all about as well. You can add in other elements as well as kind of adding a link to your business website. You can also add things such as opening hours, contact details as well. You can also add different kind of prompts to your Facebook post, for example, that allow people to kind of find out more. And these are known as kind of calls to action. So these are prompts which we give to the person on the other end of the screen to take a particular action that we want them to take. So you've got buttons like shop now, contact, buy now, learn more. These are all kind of prompts that you might have seen, or we might then tend to see generally on the internet, across the internet, hundreds of times a day. We might encounter them. And we also kind of see this in terms of verbal calls to action as well. So I'm sure some of us do tend to kind of watch YouTube quite frequently. We might kind of follow certain YouTubers, and typically what you'll kind of see at the start or at the end or even in the middle or throughout the video at times is that certain YouTubers will say, oh, if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button down below, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss when the next video is uploaded. All of that is a call to action. It's a prompt, because sometimes when we consume content, we don't really know what to do next. And that's where a prompt comes into play. Somebody might decide to do their own thing and might not decide to click on your button of buy now, but they might wish to find out a little bit more information. But sometimes when they've consumed content, they don't really know what to do next. And that's where a prompt comes into play. And this doesn't just work kind of with online marketing, but also works with kind of offline marketing. You might have kind of seen billboards around and kind of and posters around which say things like buy now, call here, all these different kind of phrases that kind of give out prompts at every stage to a customer or potential customer as well. You've also got the likes of Instagram, which is very much kind of similar to Facebook, very much kind of a visual based platform. So photos and videos are generally kind of the currency with Instagram. You've got kind of permanent posts, which would go onto what is known as your Instagram grid. So you can actually see that here. So these are kind of where the permanent post sections are. And then you've also got more temporary posts, which are known as Instagram stories, which are temporary pieces of content which you can post, whether it be photo, video, text-based, which typically expire after 24 hours as well. So that's important to kind of note with the likes of Instagram. You then also have LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is very much kind of the professional social media tool. It can be kind of can be seen, especially from a business to business perspective, can be seen as kind of the go-to or kind of the default or the first social media platform to have a presence on, especially if you're maybe selling business to business. But that shouldn't discount you from also thinking, well, the same people that spend time on LinkedIn are probably the same people that are spending time on Facebook or are spending time on Instagram or are spending time on YouTube, for example, as well. So it's important just to kind of be aware of that factor, not just kind of lock in on one social media platform as well. It's just thinking about what is the best starting point. And with all of these platforms that we're going through, think about where are people spending the time on the most? Where are your potential or your ideal type of customers spending the time on the most? Because that will typically dictate which of the platforms that you're going to be actually kicking off with and spending the most time creating content for as well. You can see here it's a fantastic tool from a recruitment purpose. I'm sure for those of you who have a LinkedIn presence, you'll see there's a lot of kind of job postings and recruiters are constantly kind of posting and very active on LinkedIn as a platform. But it's generally also a great place to kind of connect with peers as well. And that's a great way of kind of cultivating and developing business relationships as well. And then the final social media tool I want to mention here, and there are other social media platforms out there as well, but the final one I'll mention here is YouTube. So you can see here with YouTube, it's the most popular video sharing site. As well as that, YouTube is also the second largest search engine in the world behind Google. And that's very important to note because from a business perspective, we want to make sure that we are visible or as visible as can be online as well. However, again, we can't just think, oh, let's lock into YouTube just because it's the second largest search engine in the world and it's the most popular video sharing site. We want to think, well, is our product or is our service offering kind of conducive to us creating videos and having a YouTube channel set up? And also thinking, well, are most of my ideal type of customers spending the majority of their time on YouTube? If so, great. Feel free to kind of get going with that. If not, think about some of the other platforms that they're spending the most time on and then actually set a platform on there and then maybe kind of trial out and experiment with YouTube as well. And again, it kind of comes back to that kind of trial and error mindset as well. So that's kind of step 3, deciding on our social media platforms to have a presence on as well. Now, step 4 is thinking about our brand social voice. So thinking about kind of how we kind of come across out there with our content on our social media platforms. So think about kind of our brand guidelines. So what I mean by brand guidelines are maybe certain words that we will and won't use. So maybe we are a business and we don't refer to our customers as customers. We might refer to them as patrons. We might refer to them as clients, for example. That's kind of a rule. It's kind of a little bit like a rule book that we write down, oh, let's use these words and not these words. And that just kind of helps us to create a sense of continuity with our content that we create. Think about other factors, especially from a graphic perspective of the logo that we use. We don't want to be using logos where we maybe stretch it out, and that kind of degrades the quality of the image, and that's not necessarily a great reflection upon your business as well. Think about what sort of fonts and colors that you do tend to use. So I'm sure some of you might have actually noticed, I've been going throughout the course of this session with the slides that we've been going through specifically, they're very much in kind of the are very much in the brand colors of Google. So that's something that is important to kind of just pay attention to, kind of the detail aspect as well. Also think about kind of imagery, what sort of imageries are that you're looking to use as well, and also think about kind of your tone of voice, kind of the personality, so how you want to come across. So do you want to come across as friendly, provocative? Do you want to come across as maybe fun, serious, formal, casual? And you can see with a lot of these, they're very much kind of polar opposites to each other. However, you can kind of be formal on one platform, but then be a bit more kind of casual, be a bit more kind of fun on another platform. So with LinkedIn, you can be more formal, you can be a bit more serious. But if you're also going to be having a social media presence on Instagram, for example, you can be a little bit more kind of friendly and fun, perhaps, as well. And again, that goes back to what we spoke about at the earlier part of this session, which was we can actually use social media to showcase a new side to our business as well, and hopefully endear ourselves to our potential customer base as well. Now, I want to show you these kind of 3 images here. So these 3 images are actually from the This Girl Can campaign, which was set up a number of years ago, which is set up by Sport England in collaboration with the National Lottery in the UK, all designed to help girls and women to get involved in playing sport. And the reason why I'm showing you these 3 images are because these are 3 images that did really well in terms of capturing attention, in terms of kind of capturing engagement levels as well. And you can see that it's very kind of simplistic. So you've got an image and then you've got a text overlaid upon there, but it gets the message across of the This Girl Can campaign very simply. So we don't need to complicate the content that we create, as long as we're able to effectively and quickly get our message across, bearing in mind our short attention spans these days. I think it's really, really important just to be aware of that factor. So that's why I want to just show you that there as well. But it's really important to think about all these factors when it comes to how we come across, how we speak. Are we coming across as friendly, serious? As long as it's kind of in the same tone as what our business or our brand is all about, that's kind of the main factor here as well. Now, step 5, just to kind of round off this social media strategy framework itself, is to define success. So when it comes to, and this kind of actually ties into our goal, which is step 2 with social media. So we want to define success. So if we think about kind of that example that I mentioned earlier on with the goal, think about when we're driving somewhere, we set our destination on our sat nav of where we want to go. How do we define success? Well, we define success as actually reaching that destination. So with social media, what's our success point? What's our kind of our measuring stick? What's our barometer that we're actually using here as well? So is it the fact that we've seen a growth in sales, a growth in traffic? And when I say traffic, I mean more a growth in visitors coming to your website. Now, that's all good and well, saying, oh, yeah, I'm seeing a growth in sales or growth in traffic, but maybe be a bit more specific with that. Maybe say, I want to see a 20% growth in the number of website visitors. That's a great kind of measuring stick that you can use, because that's very specific. And that's something that you can measure tangibly with something like Google Analytics on your website, which is great. Is it the fact that you are that you've improved your customer service levels? Is it that you have improved your star rating in terms of reviews and comments, perhaps as well? Is it the fact that you've increased the number of mentions? So as I mentioned earlier on, if you are that new fitness clothing company, you want to be as well known as the likes of established brands like Nike, like Adidas. Is it the fact that a lot more people are mentioning your fitness clothing company, and you've seen a massive a massive upturn in that as well? It's important to kind of set out those steps as well. So that's kind of the 5th and final step. Now, an extension of kind of the social media strategy that we've kind of gone through, the 5-step framework there, is to think about potentially paying. And that comes through social media advertising. Now, we actually run a little bit more in depth of a webinar session called Get Started with Digital Advertising, where we kind of talk about this in more detail. So if you want to sign up for that session, feel free to find out more information down below. And for those of you who would have just picked up on, that is a call to action that I've just said there as well, a verbal one. Now, with social media advertising, the beauty of it is you can post something right now for free onto your social media profile and platform right now. However, you're kind of limited in terms of how many people will see that post that you put out there. It will only be seen by a proportion of the people that follow you, or kind of are friends with your business account perhaps as well. However, with social media advertising, we're able to kind of open up the gates, and we're actually able to get our product or service offering into the news feeds of those people who might not otherwise have known about our product, might not otherwise have known that they want to buy from us until they see the advert coming through from us as well. However, the trade-offs to this, going down kind of the advertising route, is that we need a budget. We need to kind of pay. We need a budget for advertising. So that's kind of the trade-off with that as well. But that's just a consideration. So that's kind of essentially the 5-step process for creating a social media strategy. So I can't see any questions. I believe that Samantha's been busy kind of keeping an eye on the chat. So let's kind of roll off or kind of round out this session rather. We're looking at some tools and best practices. Now, when it comes to social media, we can share various different types of content. You can see a load of it, load of these on screen. You know, you've got seasonal sales, you've got product announcement, you've got non-promotional types of content as well. However, the one thing to remember, as I've spoken about multiple times throughout the course of this session, is think about how can we create content and make sure that we are creating it with purpose, whether it be driving somebody to the website, whether it be incentivizing somebody to go from your YouTube channel to your LinkedIn company page, or maybe from your LinkedIn company page to go to your Instagram account as well. How can we incentivize that as well? Because otherwise, if we are posting the same thing on all platforms, there's no incentive for anybody to kind of move around and kind of find out a little bit more about you going forward as well. Now, a really great type of content that we can generally tend to create, which really kind of engages and kind of captures the attention of customers in general, are piece of content which become experiences that are worth sharing. You can see an example of this here with somebody taking a photo of kind of a sweet treats box here, and I'm sure some of you might have kind of encountered this yourself. I know I've done this before. So a couple of months ago, it was around Christmas time, and during Christmas time, every year now, for the last few years at least, it seems that Starbucks, the coffee company, they change the color of their very famous white cups, and they change them into the color red to kind of signify it's the festive season. So it's kind of red cup season. What do people tend to do? They'll maybe take a photo, they maybe upload it as an Instagram story, and that person subliminally or kind of unconsciously is kind of promoting Starbucks, right? Similarly with maybe with other brands where you can kind of maybe get personalized stickers that you can add on to the front of certain packaging as well, because when you kind of create experiences worth sharing, other people, your super fans, your community that you're building out, can actually create create the buzz for you going forward as well. Now, a few kind of things just to round off this session. Use great graphics. Fantastic tool called Canva can help, even if you're not somebody who's graphic design minded at all. I'm not myself, and Canva really kind of helped me with that. So you can check that out. You can also, it's important to check your grammar. Tools like Grammarly can help you out with that as well. And tools like Hootsuite and Buffer can help when it comes to managing your social media accounts going forward as well. Especially useful, especially if you're the person that is in charge of running your whole social media presence. You can also schedule posts in advance using social media management tools like Hootsuite and Buffer as well. So you've got the knowledge. Now it's time to kind of see things in action. So any sort of last questions? I believe that we're kind of running out time here. So I'll kind of move on to our next steps. So in terms of next steps, definitely check out the mentoring, especially if you are based in the UK. If you work for a small business or a charity in the UK, definitely check out Google Mentoring as well. So definitely also check out the Google Digital Garage website, sign up for more webinar sessions. Some of them I actually mentioned throughout the course of this session. Be sure to also sign up for some of the online course. Remember, it's the Fundamental of Digital Marketing course, which is a course that upon completion, you actually receive a certificate at no charge from Google, recognizing that you received that you've achieved that particular or completed that particular course there as well. So I hope that you found this session useful. If you did, both myself and Samantha would appreciate a little bit of feedback. We've got feedback form here on screen. So feel free to kind of, as I mentioned, feel free to take this framework away with you and apply this to your own business going forward as well. So apart from that, I want to say a massive thank you to Samantha, who surely agrees has been a wonderful chat moderator today. And I also want to say a massive thank you to you all for tuning in to this Google Digital Garage webinar session, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.